Scotland in August, hey? Blimey. Feels like November in Wales. It is blowing an absolute hoolie. So, welcome to, I'll just show you, if the sun doesn't blind you, a place called Mellon Udrigle. So it's a kind of odd name, I know. So this bay and this small village is Mellon Udrigle. And as you can see, it's on the coast. And it's about 8:45, something like that, 8:30, 8:45 of an evening. And I am looking across at that vista. Look at that, just stunning. Looking north, so, oh blimey, just make sure my stuff's not going to blow away. So Liverpool is just over in that direction, and kind of the mountain regions that I'm familiar. So I've said before, I'm not that familiar with this part of Scotland, but kind of Sullivan is over there, Stack Polly is just over there, and this island here that's just illuminated in the sun is the lovely, it's known as Anthrax Island. And the reason it's known as Anthrax Island is because during the war, look at the sun's coming out, during the war, the British military tested biological weapons and they tested anthrax on Anthrax Island. So they put a load of sheep on there and bombed them with anthrax, and the island was contaminated until the 90s, early 2000s. So Anthrax Island. But look at that now. I'm gonna swing around and try and get that image. I've actually been looking that way. In fact, I'm going to show you what I was looking at. So I'll be looking with the headland here into the distance. I'm actually going to take that image. I'm going to take that. It's a little bit overexposed, but I'm going to do that and then swing around that way a little bit and see if I can get that in. It's a little bit overexposed for the sky, but I just wanted to take a quick view while the sun was shining just a little bit. So what I'm going to try to do is take some images so there we go, here's a perfect example. These rocks are quite nicely illuminated now. I need the mountains to be a bit more illuminated, so need the cloud to shift a little bit and then illuminate the mountains in the distance, and then I get an image with these rocks leading across the bay to the mountains, and hopefully that works. I'll take a few here. I'm going to take a couple in that direction, but I'm going to go down onto the beach and try and take some images kind of around the beach. It's a beautiful white sandy beach. We were swimming in the sea there yesterday. It was freezing, but it's beautiful, beautiful sandy beach. So I'm going to have a go at that and then come back to you in a few minutes. Well, I've got to be honest, I'm struggling to find a composition that I'm happy with. So when I spoke to you previously, I was over on that kind of headland just over there. Sorry, I'm holding onto my camera as well because it's quite windy. And I took a couple of images with the rocks in the foreground kind of leading into the distance. But I think the challenge that I'm having is, and here's a perfect example at the moment, kind of the rocks are nicely illuminated, but the distance isn't, or vice versa, which kind of requires bracketing. So I took a couple of panoramas just across on the vista because it's so amazing and kind of great clouds. But I came over here thinking, well, I might be able to get something with the headland and the mountains and the cloud, but the compositions just don't work. It's because of the angle of the sun, the bay is dark, so the sea is dark, very dark in fact. I'm a bit obsessed about my camera phone here because the wind is really blowing. So I'm struggling to get composition looking that way that I'm happy with. But I think what I'll do is I'll head down beach side, so you can see the sun's maybe 20 minutes above the horizon. So I might head down onto the beach and see if I can find something on the beach that I'm happy with. But it's absolutely stunning place. But composition wise is a challenge. But can't complain. So I've legged it to the other side of the bay. So seconds ago when I was talking to you, I was over on that headland, but I've come to the other side of the bay. The basis that the sun is about to go down, and we're getting some lovely light, and I thought the sweep of the bay would be pretty good. So I'll show you the setup. So I'm going to do a panorama. So here's the sweep of the bay. There's this lovely wet sand in the foreground here. So I'm going to get my exposure. Hopefully I can feel water dripping down my leg because I've just been knelt down. So I'm going to take an image there and just spin a little bit. Take an image there. Yeah, hopefully you can see the reflection in the wet sand there, and then one there, and hopefully that turns out pretty nice. I think the sun's, it's hard to tell from here, the sun's just above the horizon, so it's a couple of minutes left to go, but that is just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. The mountains are picked out fantastically. It's a lovely bit of colour in the sky, and as the sun goes a little bit shallower, hopefully you get a bit more light in the sky, but just absolutely stunning, amazing. And I chose this spot for two reasons. One, because of this, it's the only part of the beach where it's got this, for some reason, don't ask me why, there's some lovely wet sand that's giving a nice reflection, but also the curve is such, hopefully I can show you this, the curve of the bay is such that it's kind of leads round nicely. Whereas if I went further down there, in fact, I'll show you, try and show you like this. If I went further down here, I think what you get is the curve takes you too far off into that direction. Hopefully you can see that. The curve goes way too far out of the image. So important to think of those kind of things. So going to take a couple more images and then see what the light does as the sun gets a little bit lower. So I'll speak to you soon. I've come up on the headland to see if I get a nice view of the bay. I can't actually talk to you and show you anything on the camera at the same time because the wind is blowing. It's the strongest wind, it's kind of probably the strongest wind this year. It's absolutely, so I've got to hold it. I've got to have one hand free just to hold the camera up. It's a problem because I can't get the camera still to take any image, and it's now, as often happens at this time of the evening, the cloud has appeared. So sun is just about down, but the cloud appeared on the horizon just before the sun went down, so kind of made it a bit dark. So shots now are quite a long shutter speed and the camera is wobbling everywhere. So that's the problem. I brought this lightweight tripod with me because obviously it's easier to pack and carry. My bigger tripod would probably be steady enough, but this one isn't. So I'm going to try and take a couple of images. Look how beautiful the bay is. It's lovely. The water's blue, the sand is white. So the bay is absolutely beautiful, but trying to get an image without the camera shaking everywhere is a challenge. But I'm going to try. But then I might try and take one that way. But again, the wind is blowing so heavily that I'm struggling. So once I've done this, I might head down to the beach for one last long shutter speed, maybe in a bit more of a sheltered spot, and see how we get on. So, see you soon. I'm back down on the beach and it's a little less windy. Some lovely pinks in the sky over there. Don't know if the GoPro will render those, but I've come. I have to say it's a bit stinky, but there's this water running down. I think it's a bit stinky because it's running from kind of the fields where there's a load of sheep. So I think it's a high proportion of sheep pee, but it's making some nice patterns on the sand here. So I'm going. These patterns are quite nice, and there's nice leading lines heading over to the mountains in the distance. So I've got kind of about half of the image is those patterns, and I'm on f/22 because I want a big depth of field, and I'm getting a 2.5 second exposure there. And what I'm hoping is that gives us some movement in this water here, and because it's flowing quite quickly, hopefully that turns out all right. Might just zoom in a little bit and reposition. Just bear with me while I reposition that a second. So just tipping that up a touch So I've zoomed in a little bit. Hopefully that works out all right. So let's have a look. Yeah, I'm relatively happy with that. Looks all right. In fact, I think the one zoomed out is better. But that's all right. That's not bad at all. So, hope you enjoyed a trip to Mellon Udrigle. I'm fairly certain it might be, yeah, Mellon Udrigle. Beautiful beach. As I said, we were swimming here yesterday. It was cold, but it's a beautiful place to be. So if you ever get a chance, you're ever in this neck of the woods, pop along. I might take 1 or 2 more here, but then that'll be it. So hope you enjoyed the trip, and I'll see you again shortly. Cheers, bye.